The ringing of my phone pierced the silence in my office on December 10th, a cold morning, exactly 14 days before the Christmas dinner scheduled for my parents' Greenwich estate in Connecticut. My mother's voice on the other end of the line was smooth as polished ice, tinged with that peculiar, diplomatic tone she used when delivering bad news. Not angry, not sad, just cautious, as if she'd just defusel a bomb. "Rachel, we need to talk about the holidays." I sat at my desk, my nose buried in the third quarter financial statements for corporate clients, and put my pen down, feeling a familiar cold knot in my stomach. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong, dear. It's just that this year is special. Your cousin Jessica is bringing her fiancé, Bradford Ashworth III, to dinner." She paused dramatically, letting me feel the weight of her words. "Ashworths are old money, Rachel. Very old. His grandfather founded Ashworth Industries. Their family has been on the social register since 1927. I remained silent, gritting my teeth, waiting for the blow. Jessica's beside herself with excitement, wanting to make a perfect impression. Bradford's parents will be there too. This is essentially a pre-wedding dinner to celebrate the merging of the two families. Another pause, more drawn out. "And your Aunt Caroline thinks it's best if we keep the circle simplified. Only immediate family members who can attest to our family's success and standing." "I am immediate family, Mom," I managed, my voice hoarse. "Of course you are, sweetheart, but you have to understand, these people have certain expectations. The circles they move in? Jessica worries that the presence of someone who's still trying to establish themselves in life could send the wrong message about our status." The words pierced my chest like a sharp knife. Still trying to establish themselves in life. That had been the official version of my biography for my family for the past 8 years. I graduated from MIT, and instead of following the well-trodden path to finance or law, I'd gotten lost in some tech startup in Boston. I lived in a modest apartment in Cambridge, drove a 10-year-old Honda, and wore simple clothes. To my hedge fund manager father, to my socialite mother, to my lawyer brother and doctor sister, I was a black sheep, a loser, a girl searching for herself and getting nowhere. They couldn't even imagine that small startup was Novice Analytics, the company I founded in 2015 with 2 classmates, that we were creating AI solutions for corporate data security, that I owned 31%, that in October we closed a $340 million funding round, valuing the company at over $1.5 billion, that my stake was now worth around $558 million, that Forbes had been tracking our rise for 18 months, and that on Christmas morning they would publish a profile of me in their 30 under 30 section. I hid everything. At first, so I could build something of my own, free from their pressure, their condescending advice. Then, to conduct a cruel experiment, to see if they would love me for myself, not my achievements. Would they come to my aid when I seemed to have nothing? They didn't come. Every meeting turned into a spectacle of polite cruelty. Brother Derek's questions? "Still working on that garage project of yours?" Sister Amanda's forgetfulness when she accidentally left me off the family dinner list. Father's heavy sighs and Mother's apologetic smiles. Rachel's just finding her way. And now, I've become a threat, an obstacle to the perfect merging of the clans. "So, you're rescinding my invitation?" I asked, my calm astonishing even me. "We're not rescinding anything, dear. We're simply asking you to understand. This dinner determines Jessica's life trajectory, her entire future. We can't afford the slightest risk." "Not the slightest risk like me." "Rachel, please don't be dramatic. We'll do something special, just the 2 of us. After the holidays, we'll go to that lovely cafe in Cambridge you like so much." Cute Cafe. It was the Michelin-starred restaurant where my investors and I celebrated our Series C round. But Mom had never been interested in the details of my life enough to know. Bitterness rose in my throat, bitter and familiar. I closed my eyes. "It's okay, Mom. I understand." There was an audible sigh of relief on the other end of the line. "Oh, thank God. I knew you'd be understanding. You've always been so sensible about these things." Her voice became warm again, syrupy sweet. The threat was over. The inconvenience was gone. I had done what was always expected of me. I had given in, disappeared, so as not to spoil their perfect picture. I hung up, and a deathly silence fell over the office, broken only by the distant hum of the city. The floor-to-ceiling glass walls of my corner office offered a panoramic view of Boston Harbor, where the water beneath the leaden sky seemed as cold and still as something inside me. I didn't cry. I simply sat, clutching the phone in my tensely white hand, and gazed at this view that had once seemed a symbol of all I had achieved. Now it reminded me only of the abyss separating me from those who should have been my haven. The solution came not like a flash of insight, but like a cold, iron blade snapping into place in a complex mechanism. It was born not from resentment, but from chilling clarity. I opened my contacts and found a name. The call answered on the second ring. Marcus, Forbes profile. Exact release date? My voice sounded strange, even, unwavering. The digital edition is Christmas morning, 6 a.m. Eastern Time. The print edition will hit newsstands the same day, my PR person replied, a hint of curiosity in his voice. What's up, Rachel? Is everything okay? I need maximum media coverage. Contact everyone on our list. Make sure all the key publications, all social media, every business portal knows about its release. Make it inevitable. It's already going to be big. I heard a slight hesitation. Forbes 30 Under 30 is always an event. But yes, I can amplify the resonance. What's causing this pressure? I exhaled slowly, looking at my reflection in the dark glass. I just want to make sure my family doesn't miss it, so they could find it without the slightest effort. The 8 years between graduating from MIT and that call weren't a series of coincidences, but a carefully constructed path and a carefully concealed reality. It all began in my third year, in a lab smelling of coffee and tension. David Park, Jennifer Wu, and I collided over a cybersecurity project and realized that together we were the perfect storm. Jennifer, with her brilliant mind for encryption algorithms. David, who saw vulnerabilities in a system the way an artist sees flaws on a canvas. And me. I could teach a machine to foresee evil. We founded Novice Analytics in Jennifer's damp basement with $47,000 saved from summer internships and a small grant. Our first product was ugly but brilliant, a system that learned from network behavior and screamed at anomalies. We sold it to 3 small companies, netting us $180,000. At home, I'd say, I developed security software. Technically, that was true. In the second year, we snagged our first major client, a bank. $1.2 million in revenue seemed like a fortune. We hired 5 equally crazy people. My family, meanwhile, was lamenting why I still hadn't moved out of my Cambridge den. In the third year, we had a breakthrough. Sentinel, a self-learning security guard. An $8 million license from a Fortune 500 healthcare giant. I celebrated by buying a used Toyota Camry. My dad sighed. Why not a BMW like normal people? Fourth year, Sentinel became a must-have for corporations. 12 contracts, $64 million in revenue. A Series A funding round of $12.5 million from a top venture capital firm. I moved into a 2-bedroom apartment. My mom gently asked, when will we get a real house like Amanda's? Year 5, London, Singapore, Sydney. Revenue, $180 million. Series B, $95 million at a valuation of $620 million. I bought a studio apartment near MIT, cozy and quiet. Brother Derek, sipping whiskey, asked, do you need help with a mortgage on a decent place? Year 6, we became the industry standard. 47 Fortune 500 companies were our clients. Revenue, $340 million. Series C, $180 million. Valuation, over $1 billion. We became a unicorn. And for family dinner, I wore a simple blouse from Target. Year 7, contracts with the Pentagon, the DHS, the Federal Reserve. Revenue, over $500 million. I was still driving my Camry. And here's year 8, October 2023. Series D, $340 million at a valuation of $1.8 billion. We were already preparing for the IPO. Forbes was inviting me for an interview for 30 Under 30. And my family? My family was cutting me out of Christmas dinner because I was embarrassing them with my unsettled appearance. The irony was so bitter, you could almost taste it. I deliberately maintained this modest facade, this loser image. It was my cruel, desperate experiment. I wanted to see if they would fall in love with Rachel, not her success. Would they come simply because, without the glitz of billions? Their every sigh, every condescending smile, every forgotten invitation, all of it was carefully stored away in the depths of my soul, like evidence in a case. I didn't hide my success. I was simply waiting to see who was worthy of seeing it. The Forbes interview took place on December 15th, 5 days after that call. The journalist, Catherine Morrison, came to our headquarters in Boston's Seaport. We occupied 4 floors of a renovated loft with exposed brick and breathtaking views. 340 people worked here, the best minds in the industry. "This is amazing," Catherine said, looking around the open space, where an almost tangible creative energy hung in the air. "Are you 29? 29. I'll be 30 in March. And you built it all in 8 years. We built it," I corrected, looking at David and Jennifer, who were working across the room, all together. The interview lasted 3 hours. She asked about technology, about funding, about clients. She asked about failures, about mistakes, about how we rose from the lows. Then she asked that very question, the one that made everything inside me freeze for a second. "Your biography mentions Greenwich, Connecticut, old money territory. Did your family support your entrepreneurial journey?" I paused. A thick silence hung in the air, ringing like crystal. This moment was a turning point. I could lie, keep silent, protect their beautiful illusion about themselves and me. "No," my voice rang out, surprisingly firm. "My family has no idea what I really do. They think I work at some small tech firm for a modest salary. They never bothered to ask for more details. They assumed I was the family failure, and they were never curious enough to verify their assumption." Catherine's pen hovered over the notepad. "They don't know you're worth $500 million? They don't know I'm the co-founder of Novice. They don't know I'm the CTO. They don't know I own 31% of the shares. They've never asked to see my office. They've never asked about work, except to clarify, 'Still at that little startup of yours?'" I allowed myself a brief, mirthless smile. 2 weeks ago, my mother disinvited me from our Christmas dinner because my presence might embarrass the family in front of my cousin's rich fiancé. "Disinvited?" Catherine's voice rang with genuine surprise. She said that the presence of someone still struggling to establish himself in life sends the wrong signal about our family's status. Catherine was silent for a second or two, absorbing this information. "It'll be in the article, Rachel." I figured as much. "You understand millions of people will read this. Your family, they'll find out that way." "I know, on Christmas morning at 6 a.m. "Are you sure you want this?" I thought about 8 years. Not just indifference, the systematic, silent erasure of me from the picture of their perfect life. 8 years of testing, of a simple question. Will they love me if there's nothing behind me but myself? The answer was glaringly obvious. "This isn't revenge," I said, and it was the honest truth. "It's liberation. I'm tired of hiding my own success to protect the feelings of people who never protected mine. I've built something incredible. I've employed 340 people. I've protected the data of organizations that, in turn, protect millions of lives. And I did all this while my own family was ashamed to put me next to them in a family photo." Catherine nodded, and in her gaze I saw not pity, but understanding. "Okay, when will it be released?" "Christmas morning, December 25th at exactly 6 in the morning. The days leading up to Christmas had become a carefully planned operation. The first thing I did was call Sarah Vance, our corporate attorney, who had been handling our affairs since our Series A round. My voice was clear and businesslike. Sarah, I need a full set of documents. Proof of my stake in Novice, my position as CTO, the current valuation of the company. Everything on official letterhead with all the seals and signatures so that no one has the slightest doubt. Are there any problems? She asked warily. No problem. I just need irrefutable proof soon, and I want it to be flawless. It will be ready by the 23rd. Then Marcus again. The article will make a splash. I need a concise statement in case the press intrudes on my personal life. It's about the balance between privacy and publicity and the complexities of family relationships. The main thing is that it protects David, Jennifer, and the team from any potential drama. Will do. Should I alert the team to potential requests? Yes, Christmas is going to be busy. Then I gathered David and Jennifer for a video conference. You guys know I've been keeping my family out of all this. Things are about to change, and very publicly. Forbes is going to reveal they knew nothing. There could be a big uproar. I want you to be prepared. David just laughed. Rach, we're with you. Your family has no idea what they've missed. Let them find out from the front pages. I'll read it with popcorn. Jennifer was more serious. Are you absolutely sure? This is the point of no return. Absolutely. I've been shrinking for 8 years to make them comfortable. I've had enough. And finally, on December 23rd, I did the unheard of. I went shopping. Not to Target, to a quiet designer boutique where dresses hung like works of art. I tried on and bought one, silk the color of the midnight sky, flowing, flawless, for $3,800. Shoes to go with it, and jewelry, not flashy and designer, but elegant, expensive in its understatement. I made an appointment with the best stylist in town. For 8 years, I wore a bobby pin. This Christmas, I would wear the clothes of the CTO of a billion-dollar company. Because even though I wasn't expected at the family table, I had another place. Marcus had organized the perfect alternative, a gala charity ball at the Four Seasons for tech industry leaders. The guest list included CEOs, venture capitalists, and yes, several Forbes journalists, including Catherine. I said yes. If my family dines with old money, I'll spend the evening with new money, with those who are creating the future. On Christmas Eve, I sat alone in my quiet apartment with a container of Thai takeout looking out at the city lights. My phone was silent, not a single message. Not a single, Christmas Eve won't be the same without you. Not even a simple, Merry Christmas. The silence was deafening. Exactly at midnight, I refreshed the Forbes page. The article hadn't appeared yet. 6 hours to go. I went to bed, but I didn't sleep. My phone began vibrating frantically on my bedside table at precisely 6:02 a.m. The digital version of Forbes was published, as promised, at precisely 5 o'clock, and within those 2 minutes, the avalanche had already engulfed me. Notifications rained down like New Year's confetti. LinkedIn, 47 new requests. Email, 83 messages. Twitter was overflowing with mentions. Text messages from colleagues poured in one after another. Congratulations! Are you kidding me? Why didn't you say anything? Oh my God, Rachel, I'm shocked. I made a strong coffee, sat down in a chair with my laptop, and opened the article. The headline caught my eye. The Secret Billionaire, How Rachel Morrison Built a $1.8 billion empire while her family thought she was a loser. The photo was perfect. I stood against the backdrop of huge windows overlooking the harbor, wearing my usual simple blouse with a quiet, calm smile. The contrast between this apparent modesty and the billion-dollar landscape surrounding me was devastating. Catherine's writing was brilliant. Clearly, with facts and figures, she described Novice's rise, our technology, our clients, and the stages of funding. She cited investors, partners, David and Jennifer. And then, around the 12th paragraph, she wove in the story. Morrison grew up in a wealthy Greenwich family. Her father is a successful hedge fund manager, and her brother and sister are successful in law and medicine. However, her family was unaware of her success. They think I work for a small tech firm, Morrison explained. They assumed I was the family failure, and they were never curious enough to find out. 2 weeks before the interview, Rachel's mother disinvited her from Christmas dinner, explaining that her presence would embarrass the family in front of influential guests. Having someone who is still trying to establish themselves in life would send the wrong message, her mother reportedly said. Morrison, whose net worth exceeds $550 million, took it in stride. I spent 8 years testing whether my family would value me without achievements to prove my worth, she said. They didn't. What followed were dry business forecasts, but these 3 paragraphs had already taken on a life of their own. Screenshots were spreading across social media like wildfire. By 7 in the morning, Rachel Morrison was trending. By 8, my phone rang. I silently watched the screen flicker and fade. It rang again. And again. It was Derek. Amanda, Aunt Caroline, her voice hysterical. I turned off the sound, put on my sneakers, and went for a long, furious run, pounding every step into the frozen ground. Returning at 10, I turned on my phone. 127 missed messages. 286 messages. I scrolled slowly through them. Mom, 6:15. Rachel, call me back now. Mom, 6:22. This isn't funny. Pick up the phone right now. Mom, 6:45 a.m. Everyone's bombarding me with questions about Forbes. I don't understand anything. Dad, 7:03 a.m. Rachel, we need to discuss this article. Call me. Derek, 7:18 a.m. What the hell, Rachel? Amanda, 7:34 a.m. Is this true? You're really a billionaire? Aunt Caroline, 8:12 a.m. Jessica's freaking out. The Ashworths saw everything. We need to sort this out ASAP. I poured more coffee and checked the internet. The story had gone obscenely viral. The tech community rejoiced. Business publications bombarded my inbox with requests. LinkedIn was overwhelmed. And at exactly 11:30 p.m., the doorbell rang. I glanced at the CCTV screen, and I was stunned. My entire family was standing on the landing. Mom, Dad, Derek, Amanda, all in expensive Christmas outfits, clearly having rushed off from the holidays to rush to Cambridge. I slowly opened the door. Rachel! Mom rushed forward, arms outstretched for a hug. I took a step back into the cool of the apartment. Merry Christmas, I said evenly. Merry Christmas, darling, she stammered, her eyes darting feverishly over my face. We should have come the moment we saw you. We couldn't believe it. Why didn't you say anything? They burst into my modest studio, the very one Amanda called the cage, the very place Derek had proposed to drag me out of. My father looked at me as if he were seeing me for the first time, a ghost made flesh. Rachel, the article says you own 31% of a company worth $1.8 billion. That's right. It says you're the CTO. Yes. It says your net worth is over $550 million. About 558 at last estimate. Yes. And you didn't tell us? My mother's voice wavered, a genuine, wounded note ringing in it. To your own family? I met her gaze calmly. You disinvited me from Christmas 2 weeks ago because I might have embarrassed you. But we didn't know. That's the whole point, I replied quietly. A silence fell, thick and awkward, like a heavy curtain. Derek broke it, nervously running a hand through his hair. Come on, Rachel. You have to understand how this looks. 8 years of pretending to be poor. I lived modestly. That's different. I never lied. I said I worked in cybersecurity. I told you I was doing fine. None of you ever asked for details. You were deliberately hiding it, Amanda blurted out, her voice more hurt than the others. It was some kind of twisted test. I was testing whether you would value me without my success. "That's not fair," my mother exclaimed, her eyes filling with tears. "You can't treat family like that. You can't test your loved ones like that." I slowly, deliberately pulled out my phone and opened the photo archive folder. My fingers trembled slightly, but my voice was steely. December 2019, Derek's birthday. I asked if I could bring a business partner along to introduce you. You said, verbatim, "Let's keep this for the family. We don't need your work friends here." That partner was Jennifer Wu, my co-founder. It's worth about $590 million now. I swiped my finger across the screen and it hissed, opening the next memory. June 2020, Amanda's graduation from medical school. I told her I'd just closed a major contract and wanted to celebrate with you. "Dad," you said, "that's sweet, dear," and immediately steered the conversation to Amanda's residency options. That contract was for $8 million with a Fortune 100 company. The silence in the room grew pitch black. I scrolled again. November 2021, Thanksgiving. I was trying to explain what exactly my company does. "Mom, you interrupted me mid-sentence to ask Derek about his latest merger. You literally stopped me to talk about his work instead of mine." We didn't know it was important," my mother whispered, something like realization flickering in her eyes. "You didn't ask if it was important," I snapped. "You decided it wasn't. You decided I wasn't either." My father tried to interject, his voice, unusually quiet, cracked. "Rachel, we made mistakes, but we are your family. We love you." "You love a daughter worth $558 million, I retorted mercilessly. "2 weeks ago, you didn't love me enough to even sit at your table." "It was a misunderstanding," Aunt Caroline suddenly interjected, stepping forward. Until then, she had been silent and fidgeting. "Jessica was so nervous about the Ashworths, and we all thought—" "You thought the presence of your poor, worthless relative would disgrace you. And you were right. You should be ashamed. Not because of me, but because of what you did." Amanda, who had been watching coldly until then, couldn't take it anymore. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "Rachel, please, you're our sister." "I've always been your sister. My condition doesn't change that. But apparently, it's the only thing that makes me worthy of your attention." At that moment, the phone in my room vibrated. A text from Marcus. "The Wall Street Journal wants an interview. CNN wants you on air tomorrow morning. Bloomberg is asking for an official statement. What's the plan?" I looked up from the screen and slowly scanned their faces. Confused, frightened, angry. "I need you all to leave." "Rachel," my mother tried again, holding out her hand. "Please, we're not finished with this conversation," my father said, and for the first time, his tone sounded more like a command than a request. "Actually, we are. You're done telling me I should have told you everything, and I'm done explaining why I didn't trust you with the most important thing I've ever created." I walked firmly to the door and threw it wide open. The icy air from the stairwell rushed into the room. "Merry Christmas. Enjoy dinner with the Ashworths. I'm sure, now that you have a half-billionaire daughter to your credit, you'll make exactly the impression you wanted." My mother's face twisted in pain and anger. "That's cruel." "Rescinding an invitation to Christmas is cruel, too," I replied quietly. They left slowly, reluctantly. Derek lingered on the threshold, his mouth already opening for some new tirade, but I slammed the door right in his face. The lock clicked. I leaned back against the sturdy wooden surface, feeling my heart pound and my knees tremble. Not from weakness, from adrenaline. The phone rang again. This time, it was Jennifer. Her voice was excited and loud. "Rachel, have you even seen what's on Twitter? We're trending worldwide. Totally mind-blowing." "I saw it. Are you okay?" "About that part of the article, about the family. It was so revealing." "Okay? I love it. It was brilliant." "Well, good, because Marcus just sent me a list of interview requests from all the major publications. You're about to become very, very famous." I felt a genuine, unforced smile tugging at the corners of my lips. "Send me the list. Let's narrow it down to the ones that fit best into our pre-IPO schedule." "Now you sound like a true CEO. Merry Christmas, Rachel." Merry Christmas, Jen. I hung up and walked over to the large window. The whole of Cambridge below was awash with Christmas lights. Quiet, peaceful, beautiful. The phone shook again in my hand. Another text from my mother. Please call. We can fix this. We're family. I stared at those words for a few seconds. Then, with one precise flick of my finger, I deleted the message. There was nothing to fix. For exactly 8 years, I'd given them every opportunity to see the real me. They'd chosen to look away each time. Now the whole world was watching me, and for me, it was just beginning. The next 48 hours were a true lesson in the nature of consequences. That same Christmas evening, I walked into the Four Seasons ballroom in my midnight blue dress. The moment I entered, a noticeable pause fell. Conversations died down. Eyes turned to me. Catherine Morrison stepped out from the crowd and approached me with 2 glasses. Rachel, you're amazing. How are you feeling? Better than expected, I replied, accepting my glass. And your family? They came to visit this morning. I asked them to leave. An approving smile flickered across her face. Right. Come on, there are people waiting for you who are dying to finally meet you. She led me from one important person to another. Venture capitalists who had been dreaming of a stake in Novice for years. CEOs seeking partnerships. Journalists seeking exclusives. For 3 hours, I spoke with people who valued what I had built, not my family background. At one point, I found myself in conversation with Margaret Chin, a Silicon Valley legend and one of the most influential women in tech. She looked at me intently. I read your profile this morning, she said. That part about family, that took real courage. It was just the truth, I shrugged. In our world, where everyone prefers convenient lies, the truth is the highest form of courage. She paused, and a distant memory flashed in her eyes. My parents didn't speak to me for 2 years after I dropped out of medical school to start my first startup. They thought I was ruining my life. And now they tell everyone they always believed in my success. Her words burned into my memory, clear and precise, like her suit. What did you do? I remained successful, and I remained true to the path I chose. In the end, they either accept you and this reality, or they don't. But you can't build an empire when you have the dead weight of people who didn't believe in you from the start. That conversation became the tuning fork for all the chaos that followed. On December 26th, the story entered a new phase, exploding with tenfold force. The Wall Street Journal published an in-depth article with a headline that seared the eyes: "The Hidden Billionaire: Why Rachel Morrison Kept Her Family in the Dark." Bloomberg picked up the story. TechCrunch dissected our technology and valuation. The emerging narrative was juicy and polarizing. Social media was divided. One camp, enthusiastic tech enthusiasts and startup founders, romanticized the idea of secret creation, marveling at how I'd built something grandiose without family pressure or hype. They shared their stories of uncomprehending relatives. The other camp, moralizers and psychologists, denounced me for a cruel experiment on my family, talking about unconditional love. But the loudest theme was the class divide. Old money versus new, the hypocrisy and cruelty of a system where outward appearances matter more than human nature. My family suddenly became a caricature of everything rotten in this world. On December 27th, an unfamiliar number lit up the screen. Unaccustomed to answering, I automatically lifted the phone to my ear. "Miss Morrison, this is an assistant from Bradford Ashworth III's office." The air caught in my lungs. "The fiancé of my cousin?" "Exactly. Mr. Ashworth asked me to tell you that he owes you an apology. He had no idea that your Christmas invitation was withdrawn. Because of him. Because of his family's possible expectations. He finds this completely unforgivable." I remained silent, stunned. He also asked me to inform you that he told Miss Jessica yesterday, any family capable of such an act towards you is not a family he wants to be part of. The engagement is off. He what? Off. Mr. Ashworth's family certainly has old capital, but that money was earned 3 generations ago through innovation and hard work. His grandfather, as he put it, would be furious to learn that his name was used to exclude someone who, like you, is creating something truly significant. The assistant's voice was almost solemn. Mr. Ashworth regrets that you were hurt, and that his character was the justification for it. Tell him that it wasn't necessary, I finally managed. He believes it was, and it's already been done. He also instructed his investment team to contact Novice Analytics regarding potential participation in the Series E funding round when you're ready. The connection went dead. I sat there, staring blankly at the wall, clutching the phone, warm with surprise. Half an hour later, all hell broke loose. The phone was swamped with calls. Aunt Caroline, hysterical. "What have you done? Bradford returned the ring." Mom, sobbing. "Jessica won't leave the room. You've ruined her happiness." Derek choked. "Rachel, you have to fix this. Call Ashworth immediately and explain everything." I didn't explain anything. I simply turned off the phone. I didn't ruin someone else's happiness. They ruined it themselves with their entire value system, where a person is nothing more than their supposed bank account. The irony was that Bradford Ashworth III, the embodiment of that very same old money, was the only one to display true honor, an honor that my own family had completely lacked. On December 28th, a courier delivered a thick envelope. The paper was heavy, embossed with my father's logo. The letter was handwritten. His handwriting, usually so confident, now seemed uneven, as if written with effort. "Rachel, I've spent the last 3 days trying to understand how we got to this point. I've reread the Forbes article over and over again. I've read every comment, every column, every online discussion about our family. I want to say that we didn't mean to hurt you, that we've always loved you, that we simply didn't understand. But those would just be excuses. The truth is, we valued achievements more than character, valued brilliance more than substance, valued what you could bring to the family's reputation, not who you are on the inside. Your mother is devastated. Your brother and sister are confused and hurt. Aunt Caroline is furious about Jessica's broken engagement. But all those feelings are nothing compared to one single fact. You were right. You were building something great while we rejected you. You were proving your worth while we doubted it. You were winning while we predicted failure. And when your success became public knowledge, our first thought wasn't pride in you. It was how we could capitalize on it. I'm ashamed. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect reconciliation. I'm writing because you deserve to know. I finally saw what I've been refusing to see all these years. You didn't need us to succeed, but we needed you to remain human. I'm sorry we let you down. Dad. I reread the letter 3 times. A lump formed in my throat. Those were the most honest words I'd ever heard from my father. And they changed nothing. Absolutely nothing. 6 months later, I stood on the balcony of the New York Stock Exchange in a perfectly tailored suit the color of midnight. The smooth wooden railings clung to my fingers, and below me, the echoing, bustling emptiness of the trading floor. Tension hung in the air, sweet and sharp, like electricity before a thunderstorm. Jennifer and David stood behind me, their shoulders almost touching mine. We exchanged glances, quick, full of everything words couldn't express. Memories of the basement, of the first $5 in revenue, of sleepless nights. The bell rang sharply, piercingly, the sound that marked the birth of a public company. The numbers flashed on the board. Opening price, $32 per share. Novice Analytics market capitalization, $4.2 billion. My stake was now worth $1.3 billion. Down below, on the crowded trading floor, our 340 employees erupted in applause. Their faces lit up. Our investors shook hands. Clients sent congratulations to the screens around them. It was the sound of triumph, a noise devoid of a single familiar voice from Greenwich. And at that moment, amidst this deafening roar of a new beginning, I realized it was the most perfect silence I had ever heard. My family wasn't at the exchange that day. I'd invited them, formally, through a lawyer, back in March when the dates were announced. My mother declined with a quick text. "We don't want to intrude on your professional triumph." In reality, it was simpler. They were afraid. Afraid of public attention, of those very eyes that now saw right through them. After the viral Forbes article, our family dynamics became a textbook example. The Morrison family case was discussed at Harvard Business School as an example of how the system suppresses talent. It was discussed in therapy sessions. My mother couldn't show up at a charity luncheon in Greenwich without being asked a few hints or direct questions. My father resigned from 2 boards of directors, unable to bear the whispers behind his back. Derek called, apologizing sincerely but belatedly. Amanda sent long letters about family therapy. I responded politely but kept my distance. Jessica surprised me the most. Her call in February, 3 months after my breakup with Bradford, caught me off guard. "Rachel, I need to apologize. Actually, I need to thank you." "For what?" I asked cautiously. "For showing me who I've become. Bradford was right. I was so focused on the right marriage that I forgot to be a human being. I excluded you because you didn't fit my picture of success. That's unforgivable." "Jessica, let me finish. I've been in therapy for 3 months. Real therapy. I realized I've built my whole life on the approval of others. I don't even know what I want." She paused, and a new, unfamiliar firmness crept into her voice. "I'm applying to graduate school, to become a social worker. I start in the fall." "Social work?" "I want to help those who are really struggling, not with choosing a yacht club. I want to do something that matters." We met for coffee. We started building something new. Not the old superficial relationship between cousins, but something more honest and fragile. And now, in New York, looking at the flickering NVUS ticker, I felt a vibration in my pocket. "Jessica, watching the live feed, proud of you. You did it. Bradford Ashworth III. Congratulations, Ms. Morrison. Looking forward to partnering with us on Series E. You were right." Marcus, stock up 34% in an hour. You're officially a billionaire. How does that feel? I glanced around the room. Jennifer, beaming with pride. David, who couldn't help but smile. Our employees, whose faces lit up as if it was their own personal celebration. And indeed, it was. I thought about the family that wasn't there, about their finally honest letter, about 8 years of quietly building behind the mask of failure, about my choice to value the truth more than their approval. And I understood. I felt better not because they finally saw my success, because I no longer needed them to see it. The phone rang again, an unfamiliar number. I almost declined, but something made me answer. "Rachel Morrison speaking." "Ms. Morrison, this is an aide from Governor Williams's office. The governor would like to discuss a new STEM education initiative with you. She was impressed by your history and your commitment to accessibility." I smiled. "I would be honored. Have your office forward the details to my aide." Hanging up, I met Jennifer's gaze. "Everything all right?" "Everything is fine. The governor is calling to discuss educational programs." "Of course he is," she chuckled. "You're Rachel Morrison now, the billionaire who built an empire while her family thought it was failing." She paused. "It still sounds just as cool as the first time." "And it won't get boring," I agreed. We looked at the screen again. NVUS was growing by leaps and bounds. "Hey, Rachel," Jennifer said quietly. "I'm glad you protected what we were building until it really took hold. And I'm glad you're my friend, and not just a co-founder." I looked at her, at the person who believed in me when I had nothing but a crazy idea, at my true family. "Me too," I said, my voice shaking with emotion. The phone vibrated again. "Mom, watching the news report. You look great. I'm sorry I'm not there. I understand why. I love you." I stared at those words for a long time. Then I typed out a reply, choosing each one carefully. "I love you too, but love alone isn't enough. It must be accompanied by respect, curiosity, and faith. When you're ready to offer that, we'll talk. I hit send and put my phone away. There was no need to wait any longer. The ticker showed $43.50, up 36%. Jennifer raised her glass. To novice. David joined us. To the team. I raised my glass, and my reflection in the crystal smiled at me. Free and easy. To building things that matter. To those who believe in you when you have only potential and nothing more. The glasses clashed. The trading floor below roared, confirming our victory. But the real victory was quiet. It was in this moment, in this circle of people, in this newfound freedom to be yourself without looking back. Success isn't about where you come from, and it's not who believes in you. It's what you build when no one is looking. And I built something extraordinary. And the rest? The rest didn't matter anymore.